Going live. Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 309. We're a wee bit late by an hour, but we'll be with you in a minute after the intro. Sounds like the volume is good here, and I think the audio is all good. Hopefully we don't have any technical problems now. I'll tell you, that's been a funny couple of weeks, that's for sure. I thought Mr. Mosh might have eaten your router. Give him hell on the side chat, guys. Hello, good to be back. Hey, even though we're late. No hardcore swearing on the side, be civil to everybody. And let's just have some fun looking at UFO cases with Robert once we can warm him up.
Paul,
I was kind of trying to get
Jacqueline.
Cracklin.
Right.
Okay, reset that then. I don't know why that happens. How about now? Does it sound better? Better?
Yeah. To me.
Let's see, is it to them? Sounds alright my end. Yeah, I was going to try and get Charles on to talk about his UFO sightings, but I don't think I saw him. I know I saw him on Discord, but he didn't send me a message, so at least I don't see him messaging me, but hopefully now we don't need to do an alternative show. This is where I phoned you a second time. I thought there was a major outage because the phone said your phone was turned off and it was going to voicemail, which is really strange.
That's weird. That shouldn't have done that. Phone was turned on, but we have had internet's been on and off all day, so I really hope this goes okay.
Okay, so this sounds better now. Cool. Well,
yeah, we
got all sorts of backup plans, but I thought it'd be best just to wait for you. So I suppose we better type up the welcome message. We're sort of trying to get their heads around it again. I'll just make sure everything's working. So we got JD80 here, Charles, and Wesley. Susan, I don't know. Shelley said she was going to be here. All the regulars, but not too sure what's going on lately. Hey, Sunday UFO cases. Oh. Rob. Even if he's half asleep. Stupid
Yeah,
magnifier.
yeah. It's like Jim, but not as we know it.
But I was going to just put a couple of things on the front of your show anyway. I thought it was well worth playing on this interview with Tom Warner that Martin put together, some clips from it, so people out there can have a listen to what he said about people not believing him. And
that's the Berkshire incident, yes.
Yeah, there was a Tom Reed and a Tom Warner.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was
Yes.
the same guy as the panel, but no, it's two different families.
It is, yes.
So, but this guy was a real laugh, I thought. I watched his body language and felt so I could see he was telling the truth. You could see when he was being probed with the questions that he was going to memory recall, looking upwards, which you expect to see. What we learnt from the behavioural panel is it doesn't always fit that sort of left-right diagram, but roughly if they look upwards...
it doesn't.
Yeah, you got to get a benchmark for each person, basically, but... looking upwards is always memory recall, no matter what side it is, generally. And middle is retelling the story. And looking downwards is access and emotions about an event. But
Charles is saying here, I was trying, Paul, to talk about my UFO case. Is he in trouble with Discord? By any chance?
I thought I was waiting for him to reply on the side chat here, and I wasn't actually looking on Discord. But we could always do it another time, Charles. We could try it on Discord. I think he was expecting me to patch it through Discord into the show, which is another way I can do it. But I was just going to give him the Jitsi link. But then again, I remember he's on Chromebook, so I'm not sure if Jitsi web browser works on his device. But we could try it sometime and make sure it all works for you. But we could just do voice only on Discord. My head's not really into it because I was right about Robert and maybe a major outage, something going on. So we're here now. So why is that bigger than normal? Looks like they've played around with the format again, have they? YouTube. Anyway, let's just play this clip and get the show underway.
Okay.
It should have been already queued up to where I wanted it to. Let me just reload it.
Yeah, because this is a long interview. It's best part of 2 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wanted to play some clips from it. Here we go.
When you're around your friends, it came up, but you had that.
Hey,
you
Robert
had to
Farmer
really gain my trust for me to tell you this story. You really had to be. So you had a question come in, or it says, "Do you
ever feel like a victim?" Yeah.
I feel like I'm a shark that's been tagged. Do I feel like I'm a victim? No, because there's a responsibility that comes with this, Martin. It's not. I had no intention of ever telling my story. I didn't. Some guy talked me into doing a documentary. He was I believe out of Harvard, and it was a senior project. I agreed, and that documentary just disappeared off the internet. And I just didn't want to do it. And because there was some other people, one particular person that was really pushing it, and I backed him, and I was on New England Legends, and then I got asked it, and then the phone rings, and guy says, "Is this Tom Warner?" I said, "Depends." He said, "Is this Tom Warner that saw the UFO?" I said, "No, it really depends." I said, "Who am I speaking to?" "This is Adam Riley, WGBH out of Boston. I was told that you're the guy to interview." It's always, "You're the guy to interview." And I'd tell the story, but I didn't want to get in. I just wasn't ready to open up completely about it. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was already starting to write my book because I just wanted the story down, to tell.
Video's corrupt and
you see this shelf in back of me. over on this side is things that were written by my great grandfather in history books, and so I wanted to record this because I thought it was important to record it, and so I started writing the story, and then I came home and my daughter said, "Dad, Unsolved Mysteries called you," and my daughter was like, she was like a big Robert Stack fan, and she goes, "You got to call him." I said, "Oh, yeah, all right, I'll get it." "No, you got to call him now." It's like, and I talked to the woman, and I still wasn't convinced to do it. And we talked more and more because I explained to her that I did an interview with WGBH out of Boston. They put the program on, and then I see the program was picked up by one of these UFO programs, and then they edited it. And they said it was about this other fellow, and that we were witnesses. Baloney. Capital B, baloney. I didn't see any, I wasn't a witness for Jane Green.
Yeah.
I wasn't a witness for anybody. Jane Shaw happened to be my witness because she happened to see me, I mean, she saw me physically disappear in a UFO beam. Okay. So was I a confirmation for the others? Absolutely. And we were confirmation for each other that this happened. So the real story of the Berkshire UFO wasn't about who was inducted into history of the United States, because quite frankly, we all are in
Robert, can you close down and close in?
Society. We're all in there.
Yes.
I went in at the same time other people went in there. Everybody's in there. You can call them up and check the records and ask for the records. We're all in there because everybody had their own experience. And on that film of Unsolved Mysteries, everybody did a great job. Everyone did. They told their story of what they happened to them that night. And mine is my story. It's what happened to me. But mine got repeated 2 weeks later. It's like crazy. But my whole life was like that. Every time I think I've hit the absolute bizarre, it goes up a notch. And it's like, I've seen it all. I've seen it all, and I've talked about it all, and I've talked to some very powerful people about it too. And
all right, let me ask you this, Tom, because there are, and I'm sure you, I totally.
So this is the guy that walked into a beam and disappeared in the beam, and he said he went to the UFO craft, and then he got dropped back down. And he was pinned to the ground, and he couldn't move. And he's heard a voice in his head, saying, "We'll let you go in a minute." As soon as they released him, he ran off into the house, and then he passed out or something. Now, I find his story probably credible because he's got witnesses to this. So this is the only reason. This is the main reason I believe him.
You realise he got a lot of stick down the side chat,
Yeah, he was promoting a book, but he said he was putting stuff in the book that he wasn't going to reveal.
It wasn't just that. A lot of people thought he was extremely off his head on something.
I don't think so.
No, well, this is how quickly people that pick up on things and are so eager to criticize. Now, he had the flask. You see, you couldn't see through it. Now, me, I'd never drink on a live stream. Honest. But I'm not hiding what I drink. I have a couple of pints during the live stream, and I enjoy it. But what he was using was a flask. So you had no idea what was inside it, you see.
No, it's one of those big travel coffee mug things.
Well, yeah. But he did come over as a little bit worse for it at times.
I didn't think so. Anyway, there was a point to this clip that I was trying to reveal that he talks about.
What I was trying to say to other people on the side chat, it could be his coping mechanism. you know, he's talking about something that was maybe traumatizing to him. So, God, leave him alone.
Yeah, they didn't believe him, but you can just watch his body language, and you can tell he's told.
No. Yeah, most
You can
people
tell.
believed him.
You can tell that he's dealt with it. And like I said, he's like a shark now. He's like a Kiwi man that's had dealt with it, and he said it's like being tagged, like you're a pet of the aliens, which we've heard time and time. We've heard time and time again. I had an alien stick a needle in my back. They tagged me for sure. There's something going on. That's why they can track you anywhere you want to go. They can track you anywhere you want to go, and they can turn on stuff on and off at will that can either cause pain or not pain. So yeah, sort of like it's like Planet of the Apes.
I got you, Paul. I got you. But look at one of the comments here. Martin, love you, but I'm watching a train wreck in fast slow motion.
No, I don't think
I'm
so.
not really sure what fast slow motion is, but what he's saying is the story's starting to fall apart at this point.
I don't think so, because let me just
No.
keep on.
I'm telling you, I watched this live, and I'm just saying to you what other people thought of him, and I did believe myself that he was under the influence of something during this show. But it's no biggie. I thought he was maybe telling the truth.
Let's just carry on. There's some crucial stuff he said about people not believing him, and that someone was going to commit suicide, and if they hadn't met him, they would have done it. That sort of stuff. So I think it's quite important that people listen to this. You can see that he's told the story, and now he's dealing with it. But I think he's better for it. For a burden shared is a lot of weight off you, right? Whether people believe it or not, it's like if people don't believe me, I don't care. Well, I know what happened, and my experiences are so crazy compared to anybody else's. It's not the same old rehack that you can get from a book, because mine have all been so different that you couldn't make it up. It's you'd have to experience it to be able to explain it the way I have. As we're going to sort of find out about Ryan's story, it's just so out of the textbook classic thing, that we've heard time and time again. And UFO's proof story of the owl and the tree nonsense. You can tell when a story is unique versus made up or embellished. But anyway, just carry on listening to him here.
Believe your story, and I believe what you're saying is the truth. And there are some people that are watching this live that do not believe your story at all. They think it's BS. And so, how do you feel when that? I mean, I know you can't change anyone's mind, and I will suggest to those people that are like bowing out and saying, calling BS. Watch that episode if you really have any interest at all in it. And I believe these people are telling the truth and what happened myself.
Well, I'll put it this way. You have to ask yourself, why? Why would I want to? I've been in the same house, my family, since 1835. Why would I want to tell a story to get ridiculed?
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, when I did this story, I was told, look, wherever you go, people are going to recognize you. And I'm like, it's baloney, everywhere. When I go in a grocery store, at least 5 people look at me or wave to me or ask me, questions about it. It's like everywhere I go. A car gets out and they had North Carolina plates, and the woman's tapping her husband, pointing at me, and I'm walking by their car and they're waving to me,
Yeah.
I go into a restaurant, I went into a deli and a kid's sitting there and he's just kind of tapping his mother's hands and everything, just being kind of funny. And I said, hey buddy, how old are you? And he says, 10. I said, I thought so. And I looked at my friend. I said, "Hey, he's 10," because that was a reference. Hey, Tommy was 10 when he got abducted, And the little kid looks at me. He goes, "We watched you when we were on vacation." He knew who I was with a mask on, the COVID mask and everything. They still know who that guy is. It's like, I said, "Oh," he says, he was like thrilled. The mother was like, we didn't know if we should say anything to you or everything. I said, "No, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can talk. I'm just an average guy. That's it."
Yeah.
Who happened
And
to be abducted by a UFO.
Yeah. The ridicule factor is strong, and it keeps a lot of people from talking about their experiences. And I believe, let me just ask you this. Would you have not, if this episode didn't happen, if Netflix didn't pick this up and do what I think was an incredible job with everyone, would you feel so free to talk about it?
I would, but you wouldn't have called me.
I didn't know about
this. Well, that's just the point. Netflix, they felt once they learned, like, we go back when they interviewed. So, Terry Muir, Muir Productions they fly out from Los Angeles, her and Bob Weiss.
We didn't know about it either, did we, Robert?
Of the show. And along with Levy, who was Scarier Things. Sorry, I don't know his program. That's terrible. But anyway, so they come to our house, and there were some people who backed out of filming. I'm not going to mention names or anything, but they had some really they went all the way through the interviewing process, and they were coming out, and 3 of them backed out the day they were flying out from Los Angeles, and they're like, "Is there anyone else? Do you know anyone else willing to talk?" And I said, "Well, I think
that happens a lot,
Melanie would probably step in for her brother." And which she was more, Melanie was like so brave and everything. I mean, she really went through a lot. She went through pain. It was very painful for her memories of everything, really bothered her. And the other guy, he was a Vietnam vet, and it bothered him so much. He just, "Tommy, I told you I didn't want to talk. I'm a private kind of guy." Click. I'm like, "Oh, great." And then later on, he apologized to me and everything. I said, no, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. But when they came out here, so they were talking about, at that particular time, they were just kind of getting a feel of the whole story. So we talked about the September 1st incident, and also we talked about the second incident, because my brother had seen it, and he was willing to test it. He was willing to say, "Yeah, I saw this," And so it came time, we were talking about the September 1st incident, and we were sitting in this, our Warner Homestead library here where I'm sitting, and it was time for Jane to tell her story. And Jane, when it came time, when Jane says, "And he was gone," Bob goes, "What? What do you mean he was gone?" "He disappeared in the beam." Bob says, "We got a story here." And then it was,
just more believable than Travis Walton.
Show. And there was talk about, the police were covering it up. Well, actually, there was going to be a police officer on the show, but his memory was of the second incident, so that's why he didn't get on he didn't. They didn't put that in, but.
And what do you think the lack of all the reports? There wasn't a lot of reports.
It's interesting because after this had filmed, my phone rang. And a guy says, "Is this Tom Warner?" It always makes me nervous when I pick up my phone. "Is this Tom Warner?" Oh God, here we go again. And he says, before I start, he says, "I'm a 30-year veteran of Vermont State Police." And when I mean this guy was a veteran, this guy was up there in the Vermont State Police, and he had been retired. And he says, "I have to tell you my story." He says, I watched your program." He says, "and my wife watched it first."
This is very interesting.
And she came down. She goes, "Honey, we got to watch. You have to watch this program, Unsolved Mysteries, the next night. You have to." So the next night they watch it, and he says, "I'm just watching." And he says, "Whoa, this is really fascinating." He says, "When it came time, when my painting was shown on the TV," he says, I got chills. I sat straight up. And I said to my wife, that's it. My painting was exactly what he saw. And he was located on the north shore of Long Island. And a UFO went right over their heads, approximate same height that I had seen it. And they watched it go right over the Long Island Sound, heading straight from Massachusetts.
And this was September 1st.
September 1st.
1969.
Yeah. And his father was chief of police. So when the father got home, they asked, was there any calls? He said, we had a lot of calls of a UFO. So we're actually checking to see if they go back into those records. So I asked him,
could other people have seen the UFO then?
In our town, I said, the record, there wasn't anything. He says, let me tell you,
the trouble with the cases, Paul, it's lost in time.
Yeah, but that's a problem. The eyewitnesses that saw that UFO might have been the one that they encountered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking about police records to lack off. So he's just going to explain that here.
It was something like somebody got shot or murdered. They didn't want to write anything in. He says, today, if Mrs. Smith is throwing an apple at a squirrel, we have to write it in. But back then they didn't. So there was very strong criticism of our police department, which really, really upset me. And I'll tell you why. Because I went to school with the chief. I played baseball with the chief. The guy's the most straight shooter I've seen, So I was asked personally to see if we could get the page scanned. Okay, the pages of that night. And we had no idea what was going to be in there, but we wanted to have them scanned. So I went and I talked to the chief. I said, Chief, can we possibly scan them? He said, well, this is, these are police records and everything. And he's retired, so I can say this. And he says, yeah. He says, when are you going to have these back? And I said, I will return them either at the end of the day or first thing in the morning, whatever you wish to happen. He says, you can just bring them back the next morning. So I went over and we brought them over to this place, Nancy Scans, over in Chatham, New York, and we scanned them. And it was just the 2 pages. But there was some notes written on the back. But you couldn't really tell what they were, or it didn't say, it wasn't nothing like UFO or something like that, but there were some numbers written down kind of frantically and we don't know who they were. One looked like it could have been one of my neighbors, but hard to say. Hard to say. Other than that, there wasn't anything. And, Tom J did really say that next morning that was on our radio station, and they were the voice of the news, local news. So it's not like nothing was reported. Now, what was really interesting, Martin, was I think it was 1989. Now, you say, how do you remember that?
See, his body language is just matching up. He's just he looked at the right location as well. He looked up and to the left, right? So definitely he's genuine.
It's because that was the year my daughter was born.
I don't know about
dads
that.
remember these kind of things.
They're supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to. You better anyway. And
his body language is definitely.
All of a sudden, WSBS
truth,
was having a UFO talk program. Like, oh my God, this is great. I stopped working and was going to listen to the program. And I still didn't have the courage to.
See, he's not doing the left and right eye movement all the time. He's just looking at the camera.
Paul, you are not a body language expert.
How do you know? How do you know I'm not? I've been studying it, mate.
You are not. Yeah, so have I. But I'm an amateur, and so are you. So let's just use our general instincts on this and a story. So it's all good, all good.
But you're saying he's drunk, and I'm saying he's not. Well, anyway.
No, what I'm saying.
Sorry, I can't lie.
Hang on,
all the people down the side chat were saying he was drunk.
I'm saying he's coherent and he's telling the truth.
I think he's coherent, and I did say that down the side chat. Yeah, he's too coherent to be drunk. But
So I just
other
want to
people weren't having it.
skip a bit further on now. I just want to
Yeah, I know.
find there was something at 126 I wanted to play, and also at 150. So let's just see if I can find the right spot.
You know, you want to know the story? I'll tell you the story. You believe it? You know, that's your problem. You know, really, I could care less. Really, you know, what do I care if someone believes me or not? I know what the hell happened to me, and it was witnessed.
Right. Well, we're taking calls now.
I think that
if
was
you're
it.
over on Facebook or KGRA Radio, that number is 855-472.
We don't really need to know that.
I was named James Weldon Johnson, advancing the legacy for arts and literature, because my main cause was my neighbor's property that was one of the top 10 African American sites in the United States, and I was compelled to try to save it. So, I mean, my work's in Emory University in Atlanta, and the James Weldon Johnson Institute, and also at Fisk. And you know, I'm sure if you saw Friends and everything, that you met Friends, you know, I'm sure some people would say I was a jerk. You know, I'm joking. No, but no, seriously. I mean, what you're like as a character, you know, it's like he doesn't know me from Adam. He doesn't, you know. But you know, I'm sure if he came to see me, I mean, if some of these people, you know, maybe read my book, you know, Beyond the Stars, and then make a judgment after that, because in that book I also have proof. Proof. Yeah.
No, I understand.
So, but as far as a character is considered, you know, it's like someone said, you know, would be like saying, you know, one person would say about my brother. Don't get me wrong, I love my brother. You know, he's my brother. You know, but one person would say, "Oh, he's the greatest guy ever." And the next person would say, "Is that scumbag your brother?" You know, I mean, opinions, like, everybody's got them. You know, I mean, but you know, I have no reason not to believe Jane
bit of a
Green.
character.
Why?
Actually.
I mean, she was, you know, she happens to be one of the most respected people in our town, and you know, I mean, no reason to question her. You know, my family's been in this house since 1835. When they had our bicentennial, my grandfather led off the parade. I mean, we've been here for a long, long time. In fact, this house is listed in historic houses and institutions.
So his reason for writing a book is just to carry on the family tradition of being in the book.
I did enjoy the episode. I thought it was pretty good. It
scared me, and I was in it. Thank you for calling.
All right. Hey, thank you very much.
Okay, have a nice night.
We'll just skip on a bit.
Ideas from somewhere.
Yeah. There's people that argue at that and say that we get the ideas from the sci-fi. You know, that's
nah, it's opposite, really. People, you know, tell someone about something and go, "Hey, that's a great idea," you know?
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
Right. Wow. You know, you mentioned your book a number of times, and I know you're. How can someone keep an eye on that when that's going to be coming out and all that?
Well, if you're on Facebook, you can look up Beyond the Stars, or if you're on Facebook, you can look up Tom Warner. And I'm going to be. It'll come out in the next month. Yeah. Within a month, you should be able to go to your bookstore and say, "Hey, I'd like to order Beyond the Stars," and you'll be able to order it.
Yeah. And
and I will, once I get the links, I'll put them up. I'll give you the links so you can put those links up for people. And I really appreciate you know, having me on, Martin. I really appreciate the time to talk to, you know, your fans out there.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope that if there's, you know, if you're out there and you've had an experience and you need to talk to somebody, and you get a hold of Martin, you can give him my information, how to reach me. I'd be glad to talk to anybody, really.
Yeah, that's great. And so let's see. I'm just trying to think if there's one more thing. I was looking in the chat to see if there's any other questions, because I really appreciate this, and I hope
there's a bit about airline pilot. Looks like I've missed it, and yet we can't search it because it's got no transcript of all things, which is kind of strange. I was going to find the place where he's talking about the pilot, which I thought was a really interesting part, because he was ordered not to talk about it, and when he went back to the gate, they said, "Who are you? We don't know who you are." And he was going to go home and commit suicide. So I thought that was quite an interesting story, and yet someone told him to go and talk to him, and basically saved his life. So yeah, whereabouts was that though? Do you remember?
Reasons I wrote this book was because the pace kept going faster. Everything kept going faster.
Let me see if we can find it.
I have no idea.
Wow. And you just did this freely, like you just
the next.
Yeah. We have another call, and this is for Tom tonight.
Yes, sir. And I don't mean.
And he said, "The guy, what do you mean? I need my ID? You know who the hell I am."
Here we go.
Let me see your ID. He goes, "No, I don't."
Yeah, let's just go back a wee bit.
And they were all called back. He was a fighter pilot.
All right, here we go. Listen to this part. It's really good.
I said, "Why?" He says, "You need to talk to my friend. He's coming down." He says, "And?" He said, "UFO." That's all he said. I said, "Okay." I understood what he was saying. And so I went down to this beach, and I saw the guy, and he was in, khakis, whatever, and a shirt. And I went down, and I said, he says, "Are you Tommy?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Do you believe in UFOs?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Why?" And I told him my story. And I said, "Why do you ask?" Because I wanted him to talk, right? He says, "Well," he says, "I was a fighter pilot. A damn good one," he says. "And there was a scramble on the East Coast, and he went up on a scramble." A scramble means that there's coming into the United States. And back then, Plattsburgh Air Force Base was the largest SAC base on the East Coast. They protected the coast from the Canadian border north about halfway, and then Florida, they come up the other coast. And then from Florida over, they go that way and up, and you get the picture, right? So he was at cruising altitude, and he says it was on radar, and it was coming up on him. And he says it was just floating in front of him. He says it was a UFO. And he says, I have the object on. I says, I have it in front of me. He says, I have lock on. He says, permission to fire. He says, permission granted. And he says, and mental telepathy. It was communicating through mental telepathy. And because I told him that I had mental telepathy, he was able to tell me that this thing was using mental telepathy to him not to pull that trigger. And he says, just before I was about to push the button, gone. He says, like a tremendous, he says, it's gone. And they were all called back, and he gets back to the base, and they're going to have a debriefing. And in the debriefing, he's waiting. And this is a story he's telling me. And two guys came in suits, and they put down a paper. He goes, "What's this?" He says, "This is your. You just sign it, and you're out of here." He says, "What is it?" He says, "You want to read it? Read it." And it wasn't the truth. And he says, "I can't sign this because it's not the truth." He says, I have to tell what the truth is. He says, "No, you don't." He says, I do. And he says, "Look, you have two choices. You walk out that door, you sign it, or you walk out the door. You walk out the door, you're not coming back." And he walked out that door. And the next day he went to come back, and the guys at the, they have a guard shack, and they're all armed and everything. You don't want to try to sneak on the Plattsburgh Air Force Base back then. And he said, the guy, "What do you mean I need my ID? You know who the hell I am." He says, "Let me see your ID." He goes, "No, I don't recognize this." "Gone." "What do you mean gone?"
Huh.
"Gun's gone. You're gone." And he was so distraught, he called his friend, and his friend said, "Come on down. There's someone I'd like you to talk to." And so we had a long talk. It was a real heart-to-heart talk. And he gave me a hug, and he says, "You saved my life." I said, "How did I save your life?" He says, "Because I was contemplating suicide."
Peace.
And that's the thing that annoys the hell out of me. Because what? Because we can't tell the truth? We're not supposed to tell the truth? I had to keep this thing a secret. I had a lot of secrets that I had to keep, which, by the way, in my book, I'm not telling the secrets are out. That's it.
Yeah.
C'est la vie. That's it. You know, they're gone. I'm telling, I said, no, I'm telling it all. Everything.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's unfortunately, you know, for years and decades, there's been ridicule. There's been people, you know, afraid to talk about things because it is so bizarre. You know, I mean, this is such a bizarre story. I can almost say this because I had a really weird experience happen to me once. I don't know if it was a ghost or whatever it was, but if someone else told me the story, I'd have to think twice whether I was going to believe them or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, it happened to you,
right?
So you tell your truth,
you know,
because it happened. But I get when people can't wrap their mind around something.
I'll tell you something. I'm compelled to tell the truth. I'll tell you what. Because when I was in that car accident I told about, I was trapped in a car.
This is interesting.
And I got out. The car was on fire.
Jeez.
And you know, you go through this. I went through all the stages of dying, all of them, including leaving my body because my body was about to burn alive. You're willing to make a deal, as they say. You know, I'm laughing, but you're willing to make a deal. And I made a promise that if I got out of here, and I said, God, if you let me live, every word that comes out of me will be the truth. And so, sorry, I can't lie. Can't, you know, you want to know the story? I'll tell you the story. You believe it? You know, that's your problem. You know, really, I could care less. Really,
Yeah.
You know, what do I care if someone believes me or not? I know what the hell happened to me.
And I think that's the key part there. I must have been at the end of what it was meant to play earlier.
Yes.
But, but I think we've covered enough of this one now. Everyone can go and watch the full interview. But I think that's the key part there about how he related to other people and helped other people deal with their own experiences. And why has he got to gain from lying? Exactly, you know. Either you believe him or not.
Okay, Paul. The only thing that's suspect is he has a book out.
Yeah, but he explained that his family's written books there, and he just wants to document his own life in a book to keep on going for the generations to come, which is fair enough. But obviously, he wants to sell the book, so he's not just going to blab it all out on a podcast. So they always keep something back that's only in the book. I can understand it. They want to obviously make a living from it because I wrote a book. It took me at least 6 months just to do 100 odd pages, and it was on herbal cures. But it took a long time to compile it and edit it and word it and proofread it and all that. It's a big thing, and so I sold about 50 copies of it, but it got pirated in the end, so obviously it was good enough to be pirated. But of course I was broke and I needed the money, but in the end it ended up costing me more money because the website costs money to advertise it.
Yeah, I know, as books often do.
But I can understand all the time and energy it takes to write a book, but there's a lot of book writers out there that are bullshitters, and Jason Gleaves is one that comes to mind, and he's putting up garbage UFO videos to try and promote his book all the time. So anyway, we've got the link there, but we played the key parts here, I think, which were important for people to hear about this new UFO case and abductions. So that brings us on to this clown. Every time I see that, I think of a red nose.
Well, cause for celebration.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
So
I've had over the last 2-3 years, I've had some running spats, public ones with
who's
Ryan
this guy?
Sprague. Yeah, so he banned me from. Well, he blocked me first because we were friends on Facebook, and then he blocked me from his group. I think he took you out as well, didn't he, Paul?
Yeah.
You probably banned by association. Yeah. Now I've called him out as a fraud. He went into this game to make money, no question,
Yeah.
in my eyes.
Yeah.
And he's been putting out some really bad stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that Roswell thing he did, which he hid behind the paywall even, yeah, was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
This guy is bad for ufology, but I think he's been done like a kipper now.
But isn't it the case with all these 20-something people? 20 to people below 40.
No.
Well, most of them. They're like the Tyler gangbangs. But anyway,
you got some people doing good work, Paul. You know,
there's an exception to the rule. But most of these young kids are not critical thinkers at all, and the bullshitters. And he's a point and point. Now, he claimed to be an investigative journalist, and when we saw some of his
never
work,
a journalist.
Yeah, he always claimed to be one, but he never did any qualifications, it turns out. But we knew that he was BSing because we listened to a lot of his stuff, and it wasn't well researched at all. And
no, it was horrendously poorly researched.
And it also promoted a lot of fraud videos, and had no clue what he was looking at. But when I heard that he was friends with Earl Grey, and Earl Grey said he loves the kids, and I thought, okay, but I'm getting a bad vibe from this guy.
Yeah.
He ended up saying that he spoke with him, and he wanted to be like Giorgio, whatever his name is, from Ancient Aliens. He wanted to be famous and also on TV and
exactly
live off TV. And I thought, bingo. That's why he was doing all the conferences and circuits.
Living out of this.
Yeah, Alien Con.
And this is the whole thing. Paul, if you just shut up for a second, this is the whole thing. His background, how did he get into it? Yeah?
He was a playwright, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, well, that's the whole point here. How did he come into ufology? Well, I can tell you now, this is my personal opinion. He gate crashed ufology. Yeah? He had someone write a half-decent book for him, which is just a rehash of old cases.
Yeah.
And then he's broken onto the scene. He's all of a sudden attending lectures. So the guy, let's get this right now. He never had a UFO sighting in his life, or did he?
I don't think so.
Well, just roll on.
Anyway, yeah, we'll just play Martin's clip here. For Martin to be suspicious of someone, that's saying something, I think.
Oh, I'll tell you something else at the end of this. Go on, but run the video from the start to the finish.
Yeah. There's only a 4-minute clip.
Yeah, no.
And we don't want to play the intro.
Right away by saying, okay,
great, Martin.
Thanks so much for agreeing to be on the show. I want to start right away by saying you're one of the possibly the youngest guests that I've had on the show so far.
Well, I feel very honored.
Yeah. And we're going to touch on a whole bunch of things. You came back from a conference recently. We can talk about that. First of all, I want to ask, what started you on the path of interest of ufology?
I probably got interested, Martin, when I was about I'd say
His
12
voice just gives me the shits every time I hear the guy. I want to do a pitch shift on him, but anyway.
13 years old. I
Every
never
time.
had that quintessential sighting that a lot of these researchers have had. But
Whoa!
I did trip
Stop it.
into the library
Stop it.
one day. I was a big bookworm, and
What's that?
I never had that quintessential sighting like other UFO researchers have.
Mm.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So he's never had the UFO sighting. Okay?
Yeah.
Ever. And go on.
I found a book by Stanton Friedman, one of your previous guests, about the Roswell crash, and it completely just astounded me. As young as I was, it sort of blew my mind.
Yeah,
it wasn't
sure it
anything
did,
I'd ever
pal.
read about in textbooks or seen anywhere on the news, and sort of scared me. I took it out
Oh,
that day
yeah.
from the library, and to be completely honest, I've yet to return it. It sort of made its way into my library here at home, and
So you
the
missed stealing
library
the book.
police never came for it. So
Yeah.
that's where I got started, Martin. I sort of researched the topic on my own, didn't really tell many of my friends, the ridicule factor that goes with all of that.
Of course you
I was
didn't,
interested in
because you weren't
girls and
researching it
sports,
at all.
and this was just sort of something I did for myself, and it sort of evolved from there. So a little bit about me. I got involved with this subject at a very young age. I am not only interested in it, I believe I came face
Sounds
to
good
face
so
with
far.
it when I was 12 years old.
Oh, dear.
This happened in 1995. I was on a summer getaway with my parents. I loved fishing.
Really?
And I was fishing at night off of a dock, and I noticed 3 white lights in the reflection off the water.
Wow.
So, I thought maybe it was a plane. So I look up, and
Classic textbook story.
this
isn't
is
it?
basically what I saw. It was probably about 200 or so feet above me. There was a hazy red light in the center, and it just sort of coasted over the water, heading towards, this was the St. Lawrence River
No hum.
in central New York, which also borders Canada. And it was actually heading towards the Canadian border. Now, I did scream
12 years
for my
old,
father to come
and you
out
know it's heading
to see this
towards
thing.
Canadian
And
border.
there was a
Okay.
Yankees game on TV, so there wasn't, there was really nothing that was going to get him away from that. But I did. I got him to come out, and he did see the tail end of this thing as it drifted off.
Yet he never had his father interviewed to back up his claim or anything like that, has he?
Oh, I did a bit more on that.
He told me it was a plane. I knew different. Even at the age of 12, it was unlike anything I'd seen before, and
Liar,
it
liar,
terrified me.
pants on
It really
fire.
did.
You
That
got
fear
it.
turned to an obsession, and I began to take out book after book from the Monday Branch Library in
Another
Syracuse.
young con artist.
Yeah.
So let's just play that again so people got all that. Let's start from the beginning again.
Oh,
I'm with Ryan Sprague. How you doing, Ryan?
Hang on. Just let the key part here shut up for a minute for us. Okay.
Okay.
I'm doing great, Martin.
Thanks so much for agreeing to be on the show. I want to start right away by saying you're one of possibly the youngest guests that I've had on the show so far.
Well, I feel very honored.
Yeah. And we're going to touch on a whole bunch of things. You came back from a conference recently. We can talk about that. First of all, I want to ask, what started you on the path of interest of ufology?
I probably got interested, Martin, when I was about, I'd say 12 or 13 years old. I never had that quintessential sighting that a lot of these researchers have had. But I did trip into the library one day. I was a big bookworm, and I found a book by Stanton Friedman, one of your...
So, he's telling the story, isn't he? And as Martin says here, let's just read out what he said, because he didn't add it onto the video.
I interviewed Ryan Sprague back in 2013. He said he was a bookworm. and got interested in the UFO topic through a Stanton Friedman book. Now he has another story. I confronted Ryan on this and suggested that he stop repeating his incident that never occurred, according to himself, yet he keeps on telling a story of a 1995 incident. He seems to base his so-called UFO career on the incident, when there was never a need for that. Stanton Friedman never saw a UFO. You listen and you be the judge.
Yep. I haven't seen a UFO, but I've seen lights in the sky, but it's hard to know what it was. But you can see here, we've got 4 downvotes. So who are the four downvoters? Are they part of the con artist UFO network out there that all promoting each other? So, yeah. The only channel that people are going to even trust is going to be Martin Willis' show and mine in the end. People are just going to wake up and realise all the talking heads that end up on TV shows don't know what they're talking about. Eric Lucas, or whatever his name is, blabbing about the military experimental plane when it's a damn lead light towel, just where someone was flying around near the base. You know, it's just
I
stupid.
don't know where you're going. I don't know where you're going now, Paul. But you know, I think
I'm going as a lot of the UFO stuff out there is just pure junk, and even the experts out there with their own podcasts, all damn liars and they're not experts.
There's a micro tender here. You know, seriously, I hate this ufology. I wasted 26 years of my life. Do you know what, pal? Mike, it's a difficult game. There's so much shit out there. But behind it all, there's that couple of percent that's really genuine, in my opinion. And I think to just throw the towel in because of all these fucking idiots. Oh shit, sorry, but yeah, and it's they do wind you up. yeah, you know they do wind you up, and it's unfortunate, but there's good people out there that are doing their best to get this out, you know, and I think we're in a better place than we were 3 or 4 years ago, when we had absolutely nothing towards disclosure at all. Now we've got TTSA and we don't even trust them. But it seems to have evolved a little bit. It's taken a bit more seriously now. So it's not all bad. Stick with it, mate. Stick with it.
And that's what we're here. We're trying to bring credibility back into UFO fields. You know, when you have a sighting or experience like I did, you never forget it. It's still in my head, that crazy alien encounter visit I had. If it was a dream, you'd forget about it. You know, I had lots of dreams and I've forgotten about it, but this one is always stuck in my head. So I think it actually happened. But you can never be sure, can you? That's the whole problem with abduction cases. And the paranormal as well. And that's so elusive and so random, and you don't know when the next event's going to happen. And how to document it is another thing. It's just you never think about documenting it at the time, or it's too late anyway, unless you got a camera rolling 24/7, which is possible if we get enough money and technology and plaster the house with cameras. But for him to say that he didn't have any experiences back in 2013, was it? Or when he first interviewed him.
No,
that
just
shows that he didn't have a UFO sighting, because you never forget it.
No, he's lying through his teeth.
Yeah. And that TR3B one sounded just too similar to the what was it, the Belgian wave sightings. And it wasn't even close to even the Phoenix Lights sighting. When did that happen? About in the 90s, was it? When did the
Phoenix Lights 97?
So that was 2 years after, see? So he wouldn't have known about it at 95. So, when did he start telling that story? What was the first day he started telling? Obviously, he had this.
Look,
He claimed to
I'll
have
tell you what
a
he is now. Look, he's a gate crasher that's come into this field.
to try and make
He's
money.
seen gullible people, and he's seen gullible people as money in the bank.
So he's just another Tyler Clockner, and that's why this guy sort of defended him, wasn't it? And also the cousin brothers.
Mate, there's not too many people defending him anymore.
Yeah, what I just got disgusted was he was actually saying "Go rioters, burn down the city" on Twitter, and everybody was getting onto him. How could you even say that, burning down people's property, and how could you support these rioters? So his comment on Twitter was absolutely disgusting. In fact, if he hasn't banned me from his Facebook group, I think I'm going to have to unsub from it because I just don't want to deal with this guy ever again. And he's not the first to have been exposed. Me and alien scientists saw through Deep Prasad, and that's recently come out that he hasn't got any qualifications, and he's been bullshitting as well about his company and all that sort of stuff. So it's never ending. And of course, all these young guns, as Goof on Radio calls them, the below 40-year-old range, all suck it up, right? And they're all defending them and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, yeah, did I post a link to the site? I don't think I did. We'll just do that now. Martin, Alton, Ryan, Sprague. And of course, he got upset because History Channel dropped him for that TV series on UFOs they were going to do.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, maybe they knew. Maybe they knew. Same as.
But you're missing the whole point here.
No, I'm not. And then you got Corey Good, also got caught out as well. And people still supporting that idiot. And they're trying to sue Gaia TV and all that sort of stuff. And they're still using their material when they don't have the rights and all that sort of business. And it's a right court battle at the moment.
Yeah, but that's off subject now. We're talking about this guy.
So what do you want to do? Last comment on him and move on to your...
Play this to the end.
Oh, we already did. I just repeated that front bit again. Unless people want to hear it again.
You should repeat the last bit again.
Well, don't talk over it then, and we'll just see if we can skim through it. I think we've said enough on it. Okay. Where's my mouse?
Thanks so much for agreeing to be on the show. I want to start right away by saying you're one of the possibly the youngest guests that I've had on the show so far.
Well, I feel very honored.
Yeah. And we're going to touch on a whole bunch of things. You came back from a conference recently. We can talk about that. First of all, I want to ask, what started you on the path of interest of ufology?
I probably got interested, Martin, when I was about, I'd say 12 or 13 years old. I never had that quintessential sighting that a lot of these researchers have had. But I did trip into the library one day. I was a big bookworm, and I found a book by Stanton Friedman, one of your previous guests, about the Roswell crash, and it completely just astounded me. As young as I was, it sort of blew my mind. It wasn't anything I'd ever read about in textbooks or seen anywhere on the news, and sort of scared me. I took it out that day from the library, and to be completely honest, I've yet to return it. It sort of made its way into my library here at home, and the library police never came for it. So that's where I got started, Martin. I sort of researched the topic on my own, didn't really tell many of my friends, the ridicule factor that goes with all of that. Yeah. I was interested in girls and sports, and this was just sort of something I did for myself, and it sort of evolved from there.
Okay. We have to skip past it, but I always thought he was gay. I was always a bit suspect of him, his voice and all that sort of business, and his manner. He certainly was.
You know what, Paul? I don't care if he's gay or not.
No, we don't care if he is or not. I'm not saying, but he said he come.
It would just help if he told the truth.
Yeah. And if he was gay, just to admit that he's gay, or if he's bisexual or something, you know. But yeah, I don't know. He just come across too goody two shoes for my liking. You know, everybody's got, you know. He's always like the super nice guy. Oh, the children are locked in the cages. I've donated to them and all this sort of stuff. And you could donate as well. You know, on his Facebook group, he always was over sickly, I found. But anyway, there's the second part of his fake story again.
A bit about me. I got involved with this subject at a very young age. I am not only interested in it, I believe I came face to face with it when I was 12 years old. This happened in 1995. I was on a summer getaway with my parents. I loved fishing, and I was fishing at night off of a dock, and I noticed 3 white lights in the reflection off the water. So, you know, I thought maybe it was a plane, so I look up, and this is basically what I saw. It was probably about 200 or so feet above me. There was a hazy red light in the center, and it just sort of coasted over the water, heading towards, this was the St. Lawrence River in central New York, which also borders Canada. And it was actually heading towards the Canadian border. Now, I did scream for my father to come out to see this thing. And there was a Yankees game on TV, so there wasn't, there was really nothing that was going to get him away from that. But I did. I got him to come out, and he did see the tail end of this thing as it drifted off. He told me it was a plane. I knew different, you know, even at the age of 12. It was unlike anything I'd seen before, and it terrified me. It really did. That fear turned to an obsession, and I began to take out book after book from the Monday Branch Library.
So, you know, I could see where you might go with this. You might say, well, it could have been a plane. I wasn't 100% sure because my father said it was a plane. And I thought maybe back then I wasn't going to talk about it. You know, he's going to come up with some excuse, right? He's going to say, oh, I was a bit scared to talk about it. Or, you know, there's going to be some excuse where everybody will think, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So we'll just carry on. But I think he's just a liar. And he's always been a wannabe. He wants to be he wants to be in television. He wants to make lots of money. So I just don't like
Definitely.
the guy.
1,000,000%.
So we better carry on with your next topic, which was Kevin Day stuff.
Yeah, wait there. Okay, this is Ryan's explanation for it all. Okay.
Ryan's explanation, yeah.
Yes. And this is what he said. I'll read it out to you. Hey all. I'm not going to waste your time. I denied having a UFO sighting when I was first interviewed by Martin and several early interviews. When I came forward years later, I knew full well that there were interviews with me saying I never did. I can't change that. I flat out denied having had the sighting for personal reasons, and obviously I regret that. I had the UFO sighting in Paul. I had the sighting in the summer of 1995 with my father present. I have offered my father's corroboration for anyone who wishes. I understand Martin's side of this, and I highly respect the work he does. In fact, I remain a supporter of the show. I don't expect anyone to believe me. I don't expect anyone to not believe me. And he's put "not" in capital letters. I saw what I saw, and that's my side of it. Please feel free to reach out if you'd like to discuss it with me personally.
Well, even if he got his father, even if he got his father on a video now, you'd think the father would be lying for him just to save face.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
so that's not going to work. If it's like an old interview when he first interviewed his dad, it may be more believable, but now it wouldn't mean anything. You'd have to go on a lie detector test, I think. And he'd have to pass it clean, you know. I don't know. I always thought
it's a joke. He is a joke. The whole thing is a joke.
Yeah.
I just hope now he's done. He's finished.
These people don't seem to get finished, though. That's the only problem.
No. Ufology is the Wild West. You can commit all kinds of crimes and still come back.
So what was the difference in the time between Martin's interview and when he first talked about it? Do we know that?
Good point. No, I don't.
Like if it was a month later, that's even more highly suspicious then, right? So why would he not say about the sighting a month ago?
Yeah. Put it this way. In my opinion, he's pretty much finished.
Yeah. Well, he is finished with me, especially after he was saying the rioters had the right to burn down people's property. Well, that's it. But you got a link to go for the next subject. I've spent over an hour just so far. So Kevin Day interview. So he's done a lot of interviews. I assume this is a new one. From a podcast, is it? Are we allowed to play it? Or we can play a clip under fair use, or what?
No. I think we're okay.
I love that attitude. And
whoa. It's audio only.
All right.
It's only a small channel. So I shall leave a link.
Okay.
If you can play it from 10 minutes on. Now, this isn't about the Nimitz incident, which you might think it would be. It's about what happened to him after. And there was a lot of odd stuff going on. You know, just strange synchronicities and some other really odd stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so if you can do that now, I need to go to the toilet.
The thing with Kevin Day, though, he wrote a book, remember? I think he's disconnected, but anyway, we'll get back when you get back. It's a wee bit funny stream today, isn't it? It's not, but it's maybe it was always meant to be. Let's just queue it up and see where we're going with it. 50 minutes.
Right now on Higher Journeys with Chief Petty Officer, a former operations specialist.
He said it was only voice only. I suppose, how many subs she got? Well, she's got 2,000 views, so obviously it's very popular. She's not exactly a small channel. She's got 27,000 people. So yeah, Robert. Hopefully it's safe. How much we're going to play of it, I don't know. Petty officer. So he comes on about there. Broken up. Is it just a static picture?
And as a matter of fact, Kevin is, I believe, outside right now on a landline at a family member's home because we just couldn't make the technology work, guys. So, but we had to bring this.
That guy's always having trouble, though, isn't he?
What we are discussing today, of course, we're talking about COVID-19. Of course, we're talking about.
Oh, there goes the ads.
Drastic alteration or editing of our life. And I think, Kevin, I want to start out talking about that. We'd be remiss if we didn't bring that up first, and then we're going to get into some real juicy stuff that you want to share with our.
Yeah, so yeah, if you don't know, he wrote a book and you can download it. It's free, and it talks about the Nimitz incident in it. But he also adds in sci-fi into the book about talking about seers, as he called it, could change reality, and that they said the UFOs were brought into our reality from these seers. And he actually believed all that sort of stuff when he was asked. So, yeah, I think Earl Grey asked him an email, and he said, yeah. He asked him what part of the book was actually legit information about various aspects in the book, and Sears was one of them. So yeah, I always questioned him about the radar data after that point. I wonder if we can find his book again. Where's Robert going? What's going on, Robert? Kevin Day PDF book. Let's see if we can find it. I think I got it linked in my episodes though, in the description and pinned comment. Sailors, here we go. Come up festival. And he's got a book too, has he? Or what's that there? So he has a book.
Yeah.
E-books.
Hello, Paul.
Yeah, what happened? He disappeared there for a minute.
Yeah, no, I lost internet connection. I've been losing it for the last 2 to 4 days. It's just been dropping in and out.
Okay.
Yeah, so Kevin Day, Sailor's Anthology was the book he wrote.
So he's got book 1 and a book 2. We just found out. I think I've only read his book 1. So we'll just post a link inside there for people. Go and have a read of it and see what you think. It's well worth reading. It's got a bit of sauciness in it too. It's like I don't know what he was trying for. Maybe one of those romance novels. I don't know. Out there. Book 1, Kevin Day. Oh, Day. And what was the other link we had here? Book 2, it said. I didn't know he had book 2. Where's it gone? Book 2, it says here. Isn't it really the same one, or was he rewritten it? No, it seems bigger.
No.
103 pages. The other one wasn't that big.
Paul, to me, he's only done one.
Book 2, it says there.
Okay.
Maybe he's done an update. What's it say? And it's got another copyright time on it. Yesterday. I think this might be different. And that one's a better format to read too, by the looks of it. So,
well, what he tried to do was hide the proof in plain sight.
yeah, book 2. Maybe people can look at those 2 links and tell us what's different. Are they 2 different books?
Hello, Jenny.
Is that... Oh, right. What's happened here? Yeah, I got it posted in the wrong bit. Hang on. Let me
should be looking at the interview, Paul, not this.
You went away, so I had to do a wee bit of a filler there. Okay, so I'm pretty sure people out there need to look at those books anyway, because it might change your perspective on this character here. But anyway,
yes.
So he's got him on phone. I know Fravor doesn't really particularly like the guy, does he? And he questions what he saw on radar. Are you there, Robert? You seem to have dropped off again.
Yeah, I know. It's just refreshing Facebook.
Okay, I'll just...
Sorry, the YouTube thing. I was behind on chat.
Right, let's just listen to this then. And see. We can't play it all, though, I don't think, can we?
If you can go to 10 minutes, Paul.
I was going to start at 4 minutes. What's that 4 minutes to 10 minutes then?
10 minutes. Go to 10 minutes.
Okay.
What we're going to do here today, though, we're going to talk about something that you shared with me is perhaps the most integral or passionate part of this whole thing to you, or important, let's just say. And that is the effect of what this has had on you, who you have become as a result of it. Let's get into that. You know, where
I'm ready to roll. Well, let me start at the beginning.
Okay.
You know, when this event went down in 2004, I was really, really frustrated with it because I knew for a fact those objects were real, and I knew they were, at the very least, they were a safety to air navigation because I was an air intercept controller. That was my business. I used to design air defense exercises for our strike groups. I was a senior guy in the strike group doing that on the enlisted side of the house. I worked directly for the air defense commander on the USS Princeton, and when this happened and no one seemed to care about it, I was really troubled by that. And you know, it was like a couple weeks after the exercise was over, we went back to San Diego. I transferred to what turned out to be my last command in the Navy, Commander Naval Air Forces in Coronado, California, right across the Coronado Bay Bridge from the naval station. And, you know, I tried to tell people and no one wanted to listen. So I retired, and my concerns didn't retire, though. I started to have really, really bad nightmares. My fears manifested into some astrological type dreams, like end of the world type stuff, and just out of the blue. And, you know, we all have bad dreams, and the dreams themselves didn't really bug me that much. But when I would remember the dream the next day, that really did bug me, and it started to affect my work. And at this point in time, I didn't relate what I was going through back to the Tic Tac thing. I thought maybe, well, I'm just having trouble transitioning out of the Navy, and this is what people sometimes go through. But anyway, things went to hell in a handbasket. I ended up quitting my job, and I ended up moving to Sacramento. I ended up going to school, which was a good thing. And during that time, my wife became really frustrated, so we ended up separating. And I graduated from Sac State, got my master's in education technology, moved back to my hometown in Southern Oregon, a little town called Cave Junction, where I grew up. And during this time, I had become obsessed with an idea. And this is part of the phenomenon, by the way. People, Diane Pasolka, the author of American Cosmic, talks a lot about this in her book. People become obsessed after encounters. And I'm going to get to the reason why I'm going into depth on this in just a minute. But I ended up in the wilderness.
Thanks, Area
I became
51.
obsessed with this idea that I could find the mother lode to a mining claim that had been in our family since 1918. And the only reason why they shut it down is because World War II broke out, and everyone went to the four directions on the compass. And then by the time they got back home, water giants had been banned or outlawed, and they couldn't mine the way they were doing it anymore. And I don't have geology background or anything, but for some reason I was directed and guided through that whole process, and lo and behold, I did find the source of the gold. I really did. It turned out it was 154 million year old sea bottom that had somehow got stuck out on dry land, and it's called an ophiolite. And this one's called the Josephine ophiolite. And about 100 feet below the ground at our mining claim there's a major deposit of gold ore that had been laid down by hydrothermal vents out on the bottom of the ocean a long time ago. And that became the source of the gold. And one of the reasons why I was able to figure that out is because before my grandfather had passed, I was interviewing him about this. He said, "Kevin, man, you got it wrong. We weren't mining nuggets and stuff. In fact, the gold that we found was dust in the dirt, and if you looked at it through a microscope, it looked like snowflakes."
How come it didn't show up your one, Robert?
And that kind of told me that whatever that source of that gold was, it wasn't coming from very far away. Otherwise, instead of looking like a snowflake, it would be all bent up and look like a little tiny ball berry. So putting that clue together with some other tales that the family had told, and putting it together with some satellite imagery that I was able to get a hold of, and the geologic research that had been published in the area, and I kind of revalidated, without knowing I was even doing it, a field of geology called geomorphology. And I was able to use geomorphology to actually discover not only where that gold was coming from, but how it came to be there. And the cool part of this story is no one in my family wants to mine it ever, because it's right in the middle of the wilderness.
UFOs, though.
And there is no way in hell I'm going to my grave knowing I tore up that beautiful place to make a buck.
That's
Paul, pause it.
Now, bear in mind,
Yep.
Okay, it will come to that. But this is how he found himself after the Nimitz encounter. He was behaving oddly, he was doing strange things, and there were strange synchronicities in his life that he couldn't understand. Now, later in the interview, at around about 30 minutes, there was also another interesting incident when he was visited by two, basically men in black.
Oh, no.
And they took him out to this site that he was exploring, but didn't want to talk to him about that. They wanted to let it go. Let it go.
I still hadn't put two and two together on this whole UFO thing. And, I was living in the wilderness, man. I was homeless. I didn't have no money left. I was pretty much rudderless. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And I didn't relate any of these things back to this situation. And a funny thing happened when we were back out in the mountains. My cousin was back there with me. And for some unknown reason, I started saying thank you to God. And I've never been a really religious person. I don't have a religion. But for some reason, I started telling God thank you. And I really mean it when I say it, It's from my heart.
I know you do. Oh, my God.
And when that happened, my life started to change.
Yeah, so he's affected by religion, which sort of, to me, makes him a bit more open to what he saw and
less
critical thinking.
He was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh no!
Yes, but he left it completely. But I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if he's been so disturbed by the incident or something else that's happened afterwards that's affected him. But there's absolutely no question, if you roll it on, he's been affected by something. And I don't know. I'm kind of concerned for him at this point. Just roll it on, Paul, and listen to it.
Yeah, hang on. I've got some popping here.
You can tell I get emotional about this because it's so real to me, you know. And a funny thing started to happen. Like it was really hot in the summer, right? When we were back there, it was the summer of 2014, and I would say something like, "Man, I'd sure like some ice cream. Man, it's hot out here." And a funny thing would happen, like the next day or the day after, a friend of ours would show up with ice cream, and this started to happen a lot.
But he's talking about synchronicities here, which we've seen also together. Also with Earl Grey, we often get that.
Yes.
And we talk about a subject, next day someone contacts them about the same subject. So we were starting to wonder if the Men in Black were spying on us, and now we know Facebook is a spy book, so possible. But yeah, these events do affect people, so he's correct there. And but normally what happens is the UFO business normally affects their religion. Like they less believe the rigidness of the religion, saying that aliens are demons and aliens, angels and all that sort of stuff.
It can go the other way.
But normally they never forget about religion completely. They always got a bit of religion in the background because that's what they grew up with. And Earl Grey's exactly saying he still calls himself a Christian, even though he left the church because it conflicted with his alien views. What their views were. So how can you have a mix? I don't know, but to me, I was always told to question everything and make my own decision whether I want to be religious or not. So I think that was quite a good way I was brought up, rather than being spoon-fed to you. But I wouldn't say I wasn't spiritual. I wouldn't say I wasn't spiritual, but more scientific mind to the idea of how the universe is and energies and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's a better way to be. But Scientology's obviously sci-fi.
I think we need a balance. You know, keep an open mind, because science, unfortunately, can be a little bit closed.
Yeah, but religion's always one extreme, isn't it? So that's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
But what he's done here, he's had a reality shift since seeing UFOs, which didn't fit in with his world view at the time. So this is what he's talking about now.
But Paul, it gets deeper. We're going to let this interview go. It's his story, not ours.
Like we would mention something, we started to play games with it. Like my cousin would say something weird, like "marbles, Kevin," and in the next couple of days, a marble or marbles would somehow make an entrance into our life. It was just bizarre. We started playing games with it. For some reason, we are.
See, again, this is like having those dreams that come true, and Charles was talking about that yesterday on my last show, and I was talking about it too. But, but he's now looks like he's noticing it too.
I were able to seemingly manifest stuff. I know that sounds crazy as hell.
No, but it doesn't.
It continues, but it's happened so much that there's got to be something to it.
Okay, so this is the seers that he talked about in the book, which he admits he believes in. Now he's actually saying it live on air, which is kind of good. Now we try to get this guy. We tried to get this guy an interview. Earl Grey was going to do it all proper and do it like a investigator for MUFON, and he wasn't interested.
But you know, for anyone that doesn't understand here, what's happening? He seems to be able to create or manifest his own reality.
I think it's not. I think what he's doing is, it's like you get a pre-vision of what's going to happen the next day, and it happens. I think he's not actually bringing it into reality. He's just that it's like having a glimpse of the future, you see.
You mean like a premonition?
Yeah, that's what I think he's mixing up between bringing stuff into reality versus a gut feeling that's going to happen. I know, and that's different. Anyway, that's my pick on it.
And it, as it turns out, it became really handy because when I came down off the mountain, winter chased us off the mountain. I ended up at on a friend's ranch, and 1974 22-foot trailer that my sister bought me on. It was staying on his ranch, waiting for the second house on his ranch to become available. I was going to rent it from him, but he ended up renting it to someone else. They were a medical marijuana grower, and I just couldn't touch that kind of deal. So I told him, I understand, Bob, and I understand. I'm going to go into the house. I'm going to go into town. I'm going to find a house. And he wished me luck. So I went into town and I sat down at a little restaurant here in town and was looking on Craigslist because my credit was still really bad from the downturn in '08. I had lost several houses and when my life went to it. And there was nothing. So I ordered breakfast and I got done. I got back on Craigslist and all of a sudden there was this little house for sale, $70,000. And the weird thing is, Alexis, I knew the house. I'd been there many times when I was a little kid. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm no longer one, of course, today, but my mom used to take me there because the older lady that lived there, she really liked me a lot, and we used to stop there all the time. I knew this house, so I immediately emailed the current owners at the time, and they emailed me right back, and within one day I was in escrow. $20,000 down, a $50,000 note that they carried, and I was in a house. I thought it was a miracle. A dog agreed, we finally had a home again.
Right. May I interject, and I'm going to let you take a little bit of a breath because I know you're very emotional about it. I'm getting emotional, and I know that the audience will be as well in listening to this incredible story.
This guy's not the same, is he?
Incidents.
No.
I'm sorry?
It gets better.
I know. Well,
he's like a broken man here, almost, to what we've seen.
Yeah, I know.
Previously.
Looking at this interview, Paul, I was concerned for him.
Yeah, it's almost like a mental breakdown, almost, coming to terms with it. But maybe he needs to...
I think he's obviously been through that.
I think he just needs to connect with other people that had the same experiences or premonitions or whatever. There's people out there that don't often talk about it, though. To understand how you would get premonition, I don't know. A lot of people said we're living in a matrix, right? And we're like programming code. But it might be that we're like a living biological computer, the whole universe is. Who knows? It could be stranger than we can imagine. But I think information is stored in atom level through DNA and all that sort of stuff. I've covered that, talked about it previously. And he might be just tapping into that information. And it's... might even be ancient information stored by aliens over the years. It's stored in the atoms itself, and he's accessing it. But maybe he's connecting with stuff, people as well through the information level, and it happens. He's influencing it. Because he's in connection, that spooky action and distance business that happens, right? That's like another sense that we're not really aware of. So he's just trying to come to terms with it, I think. Anyway, we'll just carry on.
I'm going to let you take a breath and line it up. We're going to go as long as we need to. We've been taking our episodes a little bit shorter, but there's a lot to discuss here. And what else do y'all have to do these days, right? You're at home. But listen, Kevin, I want to bring up a couple of things. Now, I'm familiar with some of what you just explained because you were kind enough to send me some documents where you have chronicled some of these things, these very, very beautifully anomalous things that had happened to you, even though initially you did not connect this back to your incident. This reminds me, as I was going through this yesterday, I said to myself, this is really interestingly familiar to me as it relates to what are called contact modalities. I'm sure you're familiar with the FREE organization. They've since renamed themselves, but that's the Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Experiences, led by Ray Hernandez, as well as Mary Rodwell. I know you know Mary. Yeah. So we're looking at something here because we're talking about synchronicities happening constantly. I call them synchronicity clusters. I do a lot of work in this area, so I'm familiar with how that seems to connect into other anomalous experiences, things that are happening in one's life, and synchronicities will be sort of, you're surrounded by them, including psychic effects. And I know you've had that, and I know you're going to talk about that as well. But I want to bring in at this point something called the Valet-Davis effect, which I was somewhat familiar with, but not to the extent that you are at this point. I want to bring it to that, because this is where what I call contact modalities come into play. Let's talk about the Valet-Davis effect. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm jumping ahead. Why don't you come back now that you've taken a breath? I wanted to give you a little time and talk about some of the other...
he spent a bit of time with that Contact in the Desert, which is this type of crowd that believe in all this sort of stuff, PK and telepathic communications and
that's a little bit troubling. Troubling as in what have other people put in his head.
That's right, they might put garbage in, trying to sell their crystals and books and stuff. I think aliens, this is the thing, it could be like they're from another multi-universe or dimension and just coming in whenever they want to and then popping out again. And who knows? There may be like another planet like us that connects to a membrane, which is like a day ahead or a day behind or whatever. There may be another one, and of course we're getting visions of what happened in that universe, and we're thinking it's a premonition of what's going to come up in our universe, Earth. Does that make sense? This is me trying to wrap science around it.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. So when you sleep, you're actually seeing into this other Earth, which is connected to ours, but we can't sense it or see it. And of course, they had marbles or ice cream happen in that day, and then it happens in our day the next day. It's kind of sci-fi, but it's possible. You know what I'm trying to say? Somehow the communication is happening through this energy level. It's about our science doesn't understand it yet. And maybe the government know about it and they can't explain it either, and a bit worried about it as well. So maybe they can see into the future of this other universe to see what's going to happen, and worried it's going to affect what happens in our universe. So maybe these other creatures are somehow able to jump into our reality as physical beings, but we can only connect to it through a mental, subconscious level. Certainly sci-fi, anyway.
Other fascinating things that were happening in addition to
some food here.
all of these blessings, synchronicities. What else was happening with you that was piquing your interest?
Well, I think it's best to kind of bring them up as I describe what happened next.
Perfect.
Once I was in the house again. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I started to have a lot of free time, and I'd heard the local golf course here was having a lot of financial problems because, this used to be a booming lumber place, used to be a big booming mining place, used to be a big booming cattle place. All those industries are gone now. It's a struggling little town. And I said, you know what? I got free time. I'm going to go down there and volunteer. So I started showing up, and I did every job down there, from watering the course at night for free to the last thing I did was reopen the kitchen. And during that time, I'd met an older gentleman. His name was Robert Luswick. He was in World War II in Pearl Harbor. He was actually on a submarine out to sea when the Japanese attacked. But he came back into port, and he had the grim task of doing rescue and recovery operations. And he was older, and I didn't know it at the time, but he had about a year left to live when I met him. And I really liked the guy. He seemed to really like me. I went over to his house. We shared a lot of stories and stuff. And I didn't know it at the time, but he had told his family, hey, when I pass, none of you kids want this house because you're all off doing other stuff. Give Kevin, at least give him a chance to buy it. And you know what? They honored that, and I was able to buy that house. Believe it or not, I sold my other house out on Holland Loop Road, the one I had bought for $70,000 2 years before then. I sold it for $175,000.
They
all
certainly
cash,
pay well
in a
in the
30-day
Army
escrow.
and Navy,
And
don't they?
it took every single penny of that money to get me qualified for a private lender so I could buy my new house. And another funny thing that happened too is one of the sons was still living there. He didn't have a place to go yet. He was waiting for a house to become available himself. And my sister came over and they met and they ended up getting married.
Wow.
Incredible, you know, and I just absolutely, I love the place. It's 9 acres, got 2 houses on 9 acres. I'm helping to take care of some other people now that don't have no place to live, and I really, really love it there. I just really do. And the reason why I'm going through this is because I had forgotten all about the 2004 incident, you know, and another thing happened because back in 2008, after I retired, because no one would listen to me, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a story. I'm going to fictionalize it, and I'm going to write the story about the Nimitz event, and I'm going to write some other short stories. I'm going to publish it all in the Library of Congress, just in case the story ever does become public, that my story will be proof, like contemporaneous proof that it really happened. And that's exactly what did happen. I had just reopened the kitchen and I hadn't hired on a waiter yet or a waitress. And for some reasons, I was back in the kitchen. I was watching a golf channel because golf channel is almost always on at the golf course. And I walked out and for some reason CNN was on. I was like, what? Who turned on? And then I saw what was on CNN. And it was the Tic Tac video.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I had that same video the very next day after this in my email. So I instantly knew what I was looking at.
Sure.
I was shocked. I dropped the plate of food and started crying.
Oh my God.
What?
So this was in 2017.
You know?
This was in 2017 that you saw it, obviously, because that's when the story broke. Of course, Leslie Keene broke the story in the Times. So yeah. Wow.
I yelled, Dave, I got to go home. I'll explain later. I took off, went home, jumped on the internet. I wanted to see what the hell was going on, right? And Robert Powell, he's a associate with the Scientific Coalition Ufology, SCU. He had put it on YouTube already, so I went to the YouTube chat and I dropped the chat. I said, "Hey, Robert, man, I don't know you, you don't know me, but I was there. You got to call me. I can validate that this really happened. I can tell you the background on it." So he obviously emailed me. We trade information. We start talking, and that got me into a group on Facebook called ATIP, just like the Pentagon program, named after it. And from that group of people, and one of them was, his name was Dave Beatty. He ended up doing the Nimitz Encounter video on YouTube that everyone's probably seen. And if you haven't, for those listening, if you just go to YouTube and do a search for the Nimitz Encounters, you'll see the video.
We'll find a link.
There's interviews on there.
Yeah, we'll find a link.
Very.
Yeah, we'll make
sure.
So,
long story short is we have now formed a nonprofit called UAP Expeditions, and I've got some of the top scientists in our nation on our team. Believe it or not, physicists. I've got some Silicon Valley backers. I'm not going to drop any names here if that's okay for now.
Absolutely.
Because I'll end up missing some people and they'll get mad at me. So it's better just not to say any names, maybe. I'll send you the documents when we're done. We got this is all documented.
Great.
And we are going to we're going to rent 2 research ships. We're going back out to Southern California, COVID-19 permitting, of course, in December. And we're going to anchor one of the ships, vicinity San Clemente Island. The other one's going to be underway. And we're loading up these ships with a bunch of brand new technologies. I'll just give you one example. One of the devices that we have, you can look, it's a night vision thing. You can look at, see, it's an airplane, and it'll turn that image of the airplane into a sound file. And then you turn that sound file back into an image. And we're trying to figure out some way, okay, if we do find these things, how can we maybe use that to maybe even communicate with these things? Because I'm convinced that these things are real. Number one, they are real. And I believe that they're findable. And I also believe that they're knowable. We can figure out what the hell this stuff is. And we're going to go try it. We're still in the organization and planning phases of everything. one of the professors at CUNY, quantum physicist at the university there in Albany.
Mm-hmm.
He's run our grant program through his physics lab, and we're coming online with some crowdfunding sources, so we can get the money just to fund it. And luckily, everyone's doing this for free. We're all volunteers, so all of our costs are logistics. Airplane tickets, hotels, rental type of stuff, rental of the ships.
And this is a nonprofit, Kevin, right? Is it a 501c3?
Wholly nonprofit.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Fully nonprofit. I wouldn't be doing this at all to make money.
Right. I remember you. Yeah. I think I remember you did.
I remember looking at that sound business when Deep Prasad was putting it up, and from what I saw, it was cobblers. What they were trying to do. But anyway. So you want to say anything about it so far, Robert? Are you still there?
Yeah. I think the best bit comes around about 30 minutes.
Right.
Where he has his little visit.
Mm.
So, yeah, roll on. It's coming up.
Then. I'm just finding that link. She said she was going to put it there. I think it might be here, is it? And let's just have a quick look before we move on. Is that the... That's not it, is it? That's her interview again. I think. So where's the thing about the footage that she said she was going to put a link to? Because I can't see it. About the Nimitz. Was it it? I don't think it was it? Maybe it was. Maybe that is the link she's talking about. Let me just have a look. I thought it was the video about the encounter. Is that the one? I suppose it could be the one. We'll just post it on the side anyway. Tic-tac. I think that's the one with the graphic emanation. Is that the one he's talking about? I said it was a good video. Oh, did it not send it in? Why is it not submitting? Let me just fix this up here. There we go. So let's just skim this one. Is this the one they were talking about where it talks about it all?
For the record, if you could at all, and basically boom, 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 boom.
I thought there was some graphic emanation. I thought that's the one they were talking about, but this doesn't look like it. So it beats me. But there's a graphic emanation of the whole event, which was quite well done by someone. I thought that's who he was talking about, but maybe she's got the wrong link there.
With the documentation that you sent me, that I saw that it was, I believe, a 501c3. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help with that. We'll be talking, obviously, after this day is over. So
yeah. Well, one thing, I'll just put a marker in right now. Once we do get the crowdfunding online, I will need some help promoting that, just to make sure we have money to pull this off.
Consider it done.
All of our equipment's being donated to us for free, because one of the things we told some of these technology developers, hey, we'll test and evaluate your gear for free, and everyone really liked the sound of that. So we've got a whole bunch of some really cool technologies, because what I think happened in 2004, I think it was a result of a technology upgrade that the ship and the Sprague group had received, and it was top secret at the time. I didn't even know it had happened, because I only had a secret clearance. I think that new technology suddenly allowed us to see something that maybe has been there for a long time.
Interesting.
So that's why I believe that, and a lot of the new technologies that we're going to have on the ships are very, very similar to what the Navy now has fleet-wide. And it also kind of explains why since 2004, there's been a lot of sightings, because now we were the first test platform. Now that technology is fleet-wide, so everyone's seeing these things now.
It said, Kevin, that a sighting is reported every 8 seconds globally now. I don't know when those numbers were recorded or since when. I know it's recent.
That doesn't say it's aliens or from another dimension, because
no, just sighting, yeah.
He's talking about technology, which could be that swarm drone system they were talking about, Nemesis, and what was the other thing? Palladium, or whatever it's called. So, yeah. That's the whole thing. Unless someone says, oh, they saw an alien in the cockpit, no one actually has said that yet, you know. So it's still left open what technology it is.
Recent. Every 8 seconds. As a matter
of... I know that.
Yes,
I didn't.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to come back to something that you said just triggered a thought in my mind. When you went into, you said you were watching, you had the Golf Channel on, I believe, and interestingly, CNN ended up being on, and that's when you saw the Tic Tac, the report on the Tic Tac video. All of these things that are happening make me wonder. I wonder if you, at some very deep level, unbeknownst to you, had something to do with bringing this to the forefront. I'm not talking about this isn't a left brain thing. This is not a logic-based thought. But something you connected to, Kevin, based on that experience, it seems, changed you, and you became almost like a magnet for blessings or I don't even know what word to use, but I'm wondering, you seem to have an effect on things around you. Do you know where I'm going here? I just feel
sounds like
it's hard for me because I'm just a normal guy, man. I don't see myself as a messenger or a...
Well, maybe we all are, though. But wait, you know, I get you're a humble person, and I want you to always stay that way. But, you know, when we have these experiences that are way beyond our comprehension, we don't understand what has happened and the mechanism that has made it so, but we know that we've changed. Or we know that something has been brought out of dormancy that was maybe always there. See, I happen to think that all people are extraordinary and have extraordinary capabilities. You obviously included. And
me too.
Really, I do. And something, let's assume that whatever connected to you was intelligent. We call it, you know, I call it non-human intelligence. Open that door for you, Kevin.
See, the problem I have here, though, Robert, is he was in the basement of the ship on the radar system. He wasn't actually in a plane.
He didn't see anything.
Yeah, that's right. It's all electronics.
Yeah.
So how could he have communication with aliens? It's not like he was a fighter pilot, got really close to it, and got telepathic communication like the other person was talking.
Paul, I have big issues with this as well.
Now, if David Fravor said he had telepathic communication before it sipped off, like the other interview that we just saw, that would make more sense to me. But this guy was in the bottom of a basement surrounded by metal, and unless he's not telling us that he had some early encounters before the ship event happened, unless he's not being fully open, or something else happened after that we saw the UFO, then that would change the situation here for me. Or that you got visited, by aliens.
I don't understand how a few blips on a radar screen can cause this amount of drama.
No, something either he's not telling, or he got visited, or he's too embarrassed to talk about it. But why would he be visited unless the aliens can communicate through all that metal in the ship? I don't know. So yeah, I have a problem with his story too, Charles. And so does Rob. He could back up Fravor's sighting though, because he saw the radar. But I see Fravor is the one that's having trouble with David.
Fravor doesn't like Kevin Day.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, he's open. He says, hold on a minute, I chased one of these things and I haven't got PTSD.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Something's not right here.
So that you would be a physical conduit.
Yep.
There's an interesting bit coming up here where he gets a visit from his intelligence people.
Yeah. So that could be where something happened to him.
Possibly.
Or maybe he's not telling the full story, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they drugged him. Maybe they implanted false memories in his head. And this is where Fravor might be thinking that the guy's making up stories for his own publicity to try and sell his book or make money somehow from it. So I can see, again, this is where we got a lot of suspicion in the UFO field again, right? So, hey, who we got? Planet Suma. Or whatever it says there. And let's just zoom down for the chats here for a minute before we carry on. So what do we got going on here? How come it's not fully shown here? Oh, he's put ... Still don't know if I believe him.
Suzanne?
Sorry, people are very good actors. Just watch movie stars as they can turn tears on and off. Yeah, that's true. And of course, a lot good with their body language too. Yeah, and when there's money involved, and when you go to content in the desert, which is a bunch of frauds in my mind's eye for that group there. Although they're trying to bring more credibility to their, I don't know, what do you call them, group? I still have very doubts that's true, because they still have a lot of frauds amongst them. As we read out the list for last year's event, wasn't it? Remember you going through the list, and Kevin Day was there, and so was the other Nimitz guy. What was his name now? VOOR. What's his last name?
There's a few of them. You mean the pilots or the?
No. What's the guy's name? I think it was VOOR something rather. What's his name?
Oh yeah, Gavin Vivis.
Yeah. So he was on the list there too, but we said, well, we can give them an out on that one because they might not know the contact in the desert is a bit airheady, crystals and healers and all that sort of business. But now I don't know too much. He might be going there regularly every year now and trying to sell something or get paid to talk about something.
I would call it the Midas touch conduit, but not just about the physical stuff. Look at all the beautiful things you're doing, but also on some deep level, did your consciousness help to bring this story to the surface without anybody even realizing it, including you? Do you get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, and there's a story that I want to tell you about that kind of that was a very nice segue to what I'm about to tell you. And this all leads back to the Valley-Davis model. Jacques Vallée and Eric Davis are physicists. They wrote a paper called Incommensurability and the Physics of High Strangeness. And I'll get back to that in a minute. Okay. But I think it was like 2015. I was in my first house that I bought here for the $70,000 house. And I was over at one of my other friends' house, and I met these two guys there. And at the time, it seemed happenstance. But as it turns out, it wasn't. They showed up at my house the next day, and their cover story was, "Hey, Kevin, we can't really tell you who we are, but we're from the government, and we saw your mining report on the internet, and we want to train special forces down where your mining claim is because it's so damn rugged down there, and we want you to take us there." And I was like, I was suspicious right off the front, but very curious what they wanted. I wanted to play along too, so I took them along with some other friends of mine just in case I had something bad planned for me. And I took them back out there, and they never did tell me their true purpose, but they left a whole bunch of hints. So when this story broke on CNN and everything came to light, I was able to figure out their true purpose, which was and their purpose was validated to me by Luis Elizondo, by the way. He told, when I told him this story that I'm telling you now, he said, yeah, I know them. I've exchanged emails with them, and they were at your house because of Tic Tac, Kevin. And because of the Tic Tac incidents. And one of the weirdest things that Shakate told me, he went by the name of Shakate, the other guy was Forrest. And if they're listening now, if I saw him today, I'd give them both big hugs because they really helped me. He looked me in the eye, and I think it was maybe the last thing he ever said to me. And he started almost crying. He was like, Kevin, you are incredibly important to what's about to happen. And I got to tell you, I thought he was crazy. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about at the time. Because, again, I didn't relate any of this back to the Tic Tacs yet. And when this story broke, soon after I discovered, now I was part of the story again. So, of course, I learned about Valley Davis and the Valley Davis model. And for those that don't know what that is, they basically take UAP UFO encounters and they break it into 6 layers of effects that happen, everything from the physical effects of what the craft itself is doing, like layers 1, 2, and 3, and layers 5 and 6. The layer 5 is the human effects. People get changed by this. Suddenly they can heal stuff. They can seemingly manifest stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
And layer 6 is what we're doing now. It's called social effects. This happening now is a social effect. And
that sound like a bit
when
like
I finally
Greer
laid my eyes on that
right.
document, the light went on. I was fine. Everything came together. The puzzle was complete. I was able to figure out what the hell had happened to me and why I had changed.
In a sentence, how would you describe what had happened to you? Now, we're talking about the after effects, but have you been able to get your arms around what happened to you?
This. No, that because I didn't know what was happening to me, it damn near cost me my life. Because it had changed me, and I was in the wilderness. I mean, I didn't know what the hell was happening to me, and that's if I have a message that's that, it's if you happen to encounter these things, UAP, UFOs, it's gonna affect you.
It's going down the line of Dr. Greer stuff, isn't it? C5 and. Yeah, I'm not sort of believing it.
The whole thing is a little bit disturbing, to be honest.
What'd you do
I just
about
don't.
it?
I mean, I don't know, but I just don't see how blips on a radar can change your life that way. But
I think he's been to contact in the desert, and that's where it's all gone.
maybe it did.
Yeah.
I think maybe some other people in the UFO community have.
Oh, the Men in Black guys. What did I tell you? Hang on, we'll see if he comes back. So I was thinking about doing a woman in black emoji next. I might have to work on that over the week. Come on, Robert, where are you? I tell you, it's been a really strange day today, isn't it? With things not quite working out right. What's going on, Robert? Has his system been compromised by a hacker? Who else is out there? Is it still working, or was it me? I think I'm working all right. Are you guys out there still on the side chat? Charles, are you there? Is it just Robert, or was it me? I was saying it's all working here. Who's there? What's going on, guys? Are you still here? Area 51 still here. How about the guys from UK? Are you in UK, Area 51? Or in USA, or you don't want to say, I guess. Where Where's Robert gone? He's pushing. I think we'd have to. That's the guy out by now. Yeah, but Robert's not even in the side chat now, so what's going on? I kicked him off the show. Kick to Given Day or Robert? Alright, so you're in USA and you're in UK and he's in Wales, so I'm not really sure why he's having so much trouble. How can we communicate with him? Now I'll just bring up Facebook. Or maybe I'll just carry on with the interview here a wee bit while we try and get Robert back on.
It's going to change you. Yeah. It really is. And if I had known that was going to happen, it would have been a lot easier to deal with.
Right. But for some reason you weren't meant to know. Let me ask you this question, Kevin. Now, I know that what you witnessed when you were the radar operator and saw this, the Tic Tac, this was more than one day. This was several days, I believe. But how long, but here's my question. How long would you say each time you were in the midst of witnessing, how long did those intervals last at a time?
Well, we were about 90 miles or so off the coast of San Diego, down off to the southwest.
He's not on Facebook.
These objects would appear on my radar in the vicinity of Catalina Island, and they appeared in groups of between 5 and 10 at a time over the maybe about 10 days. And if I counted all the objects up and added them all together, about 100 objects altogether.
Wow.
Charles.
But how long let's say on one particular day, you got a glimpse of these things. You obviously didn't let your eyes leave what you were watching. Do you recall about how long it lasted? Where they
about
were
2 hours.
Really?
They were approximately 100 miles to the north of us, and these things. The reason why they were weird is because.
Hang on, but didn't he say you never saw him? He only saw it on radar. Am I missing something here? Anyway, Robert's not on Facebook, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'll just leave that open though. Yeah. So did he get up on the deck and actually see him from a distance? Is that what he's saying there now? I don't know, the story keeps changing for me for this guy. Yeah, I'm not too sure where Robert is. That's really strange. He's dropped off completely here, so it's only me on here. What does it say? Invite someone. Might have to get you on, Charles. I'll send you the link to come on. Anyway, we'll just carry on. It's not been a really good day, really. Maybe we have to kick this one in the butt and start afresh again on the other topics at this rate.
Like the first group I saw was 28,000 feet. They were tracking south, but they were only going like 100 knots, which is really, really, really slow for that altitude.
Right. Well, listen.
And they were tracking south again, perpendicular to the prevailing winds.
Right.
So I was thinking to myself, what the hell flies like that? I've been staring at Spy 1 radar for 18 years.
Well, you're the one that said this is not Newtonian. This is not classic physics. But before I lose my thought, this is what I want to bring up. The reason why I asked you how long at a shot, let's say, these sightings would last. Well, I got news for you. And I'm going to give a shout out to Steve Mera, who I haven't talked to for a while. I hope all is well with you guys.
I think his power cable got disconnected from his laptop. I think that's what happened. He's got a dodgy connection.
As well as UFO investigator out of the UK. And he is the one that let me know, first of all, about the sightings happening every 8 seconds now being reported. But he also brought up the idea, based on their research, what they have discovered is that anyone who has had a sighting, just a sighting, you see a craft in the sky, UFO, UAP, for 10 minutes or more, the chances are high that it was more than a sighting, but a contact encounter. This is important, Kevin. This is the one thing that I have been itching to say to you. So after I discovered that you believed yourself to have some sort of an encounter, I had to know how long you were witnessing these sightings. You're telling me 2 hours? And what I'm saying to you is 10 minutes or more. And I don't know what the criteria that they were using to determine this, but what we're talking about here is a very likely contact, a very, very, perhaps even a close encounter. Have you been regressed yet? Have you thought about it? Have you done it?
I've thought about. Mary asked me if I wanted to do it, and at the time, the thought of doing it kind of scares me. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm gonna have to, but
Maybe you
I
don't need
would.
to.
I'm open to the idea of being regressed. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to be discovered, but I have a feeling everything is unfolding in perfect timing for you, my friend. Really, this is brilliant. Continue. Tell us more. I'm going to shut my mouth. I just wanted to bring that up for you to chew on for yourself a little bit.
Okay. So I hesitate to call myself a messenger because it just sounds so egotistical and stuff. It's just not who I am. But if I have a message
Sounds
that's
strange,
folks, if you encounter these things and your life starts to change, take heart, because at the end of the journey, you're going to become a better person.
Yeah.
Even though the journey itself can be rough, because it's going to change you and it's going to astonish you.
Well, it does change you.
Suddenly, you might be able to play basketball, and you were a dork before, or play golf, and you were a dork before, or you can sing and carry a tune now where before you couldn't. All kinds of beautiful things. And I think what happens is, you touched on it earlier, I think for some reason it unlocks some latent abilities that are already in you.
Absolutely. I believe
and
that.
There's a reason. I've been doing more and more research, and there's actually a maybe even a scientific explanation of why this happens. Apparently in our brains there's these little bodies in our brains that are called microtubules.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar a little bit.
They vibrate at the quantum level. And I think that's what's happening. I think encounters with these things vibrates our microtubules at the quantum level, and it uncovers latent abilities in you when that happens. And the longer your exposure is to them, the greater the uncover. The greater the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's an interesting.
Starting to sound a bit like pseudoscience now, doesn't it? If that's the case, you should be able to repeat it scientifically, right? Should be able to induce it, and then capture it on video when they come to visit. So yeah, I'm not sure if Robert's coming back or not. I know he's got a dodgy cable on his laptop, and I think he's using his older laptop. His newer one didn't last 6 months before it broke or something. So maybe it won't power on till it's charged a wee bit again. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm not too sure if we should listen much more to this, because we've actually played quite a bit of it here. But it does sound a bit strange what he's saying here. I'm not too sure why it's 2 hours though. Is he saying 2 hours on the bottom of a ship, or did he go up on the deck and see him with his own eyes? Am I missing something here? Did I miss something? Maybe I need to replay it over again, because Robert jumping off, I sort of lost focus a wee bit there. Maybe I missed something, but I don't think I have, but I don't know.
Thought too. There's a lot of people wonder, okay, what the hell were the purpose of the pyramids? You know what I think the purpose of the pyramids were?
Oh no. I
don't think those sarcophagi were for dying, and I think they were for lying, and I really do. I think they were spas. I think you go inside, you lay in there, and fill it full of 10,000.
He's definitely been
Egyptian
to contact
cats,
in the desert.
murmur, and it sets up a frequency, the vibration in the pyramid, and it vibrates the microtubules, and when you come out of the pyramid, you have abilities you didn't have when you walked into the pyramid.
Interesting.
I think it was a business model.
Where did that come from for you? What prompted you to start thinking about something like that? Really? Well, we all, if you want to...
I download stuff, I don't, like, the mining stuff was all downloaded. I actually had a daytime vision, just like you would see in the movies, and when I finally figured out what had happened geologically. So, and that continues to happen to me. I get realizations, I guess. I don't know what else to call them. So that's kind of where that comes. And I don't know if the theory I just laid out is. I don't recall ever even hearing it before. Have you?
Say it again.
when you walk into a pyramid, the purpose of them was that to vibrate your microtubules.
I had not heard that. No.
No,
I mean, obviously there are theories surrounding the whole how the pyramids were built and what they were actually used for, but that particular thing, no, I had not heard that.
I don't think I ever have either.
It's all right to have theories, but yeah, this is sort of going crackpotty direction, isn't it? I've put out theory there that the pyramids was actually maybe a machine to produce hydrogen to make ancient airships, which I got an episode I created on that if you want to go and listen. But yeah, I've heard these theories before that it was actually used as like a healing room where people could be laid in there, but that kind of makes sense too, because part of the machine process to split hydrogen is to have a lower level of oxygen because it's heavier. So yeah, as you know, if you put people in oxygen in hospitals, they actually heal faster. They just know that for a thing. If you got a wound or something, your wounds will heal. So to me, makes sense that the pyramids could have been lower levels for healing and the upper levels for collecting hydrogen for ancient airships. And Egyptians inherited the technology, and of course it wasn't written down because it was obviously high technology back in those days. It wasn't written down so no one could steal it and take over it. And they probably executed the people that knew anything about it. And of course it went to ruins, and then people stole the gold or the working metal inners for making profit, like humans generally do. They plunder. So my theory makes more sense, but he's talking about vibrations, because there is an underground water source there. And of course, as you know, if you build buildings, you get the echo chamber effect with chanting and stuff in there. But yeah, it's sort of out there, kind of, out there kind of thinking that's going to vibrate your brain and getting connections with aliens and all that sort of nonsense. Because the ancient airship one does sort of make sense if you watch my documentary on it. Because I look at all the connections and how it would work, and we know there's ancient maps and Asca lines didn't make much sense because they were seen from above. So ancient airships does make more of a sense than what he's blabbing on here. So yeah, I'm not too sure where we're going to go from here. The next subject was meant to be stuff that he had links for, and I don't have links. Horse mutilations, which would probably get ads banned on it anyway. And then RAF Lightning UFO mystery was meant to be after that. So maybe that might have to be next week. But it seems like a bad time for Robert at the moment, obviously. Men in Black have got to us again.
And it could be total BS. I don't know, but it's just a hunch that I have.
Well, I have a feeling, they say let's honor that hunch, man, and I have a feeling that we don't know, and perhaps it's neither here nor there at this moment in time. But you're just having epiphanies. You're an epiphany magnet. You're just having epiphanies. I'm laughing, but it's serious. It's beautiful. You said it.
And of course, Charles would say that's a shit magnet. But it may be that this visitation he had from the Men in Black, there may even been aliens themselves, as often people have talked about, somehow influenced him, rather than the actual Nimitz Tic Tac event. So maybe something more that went on there. As you know, as Earl said, the more you get in contact with other contactees and people that are working in the real field of UFOs, not all the frauds out there, that something's may happen to you as well on the process, which basically has happened to me, right? Which hasn't been a negative thing, but to him it seems almost like he's had a mental breakdown, and it's been totally scary or negative for him, and he's now thinking that he can be influence or a seer that brings things into reality, which is flaky as hell, to my opinion. What do you think on that on the side chat so far about what he's saying here? But again, it's in his books. Have a read of his books, because I think his books sum it up pretty well to what this interview is talking about here. And even Earl Grey was a bit suspect of Kevin Day when he saw the books. He liked the books. He thought they were pretty easy reading and cheeky. But he said when he spoke with Kevin Day that he actually believes in the Mandela effect, where you can change what happened in the past and that sort of stuff. So yeah, but the Mandela effect may again be interdimensional, where you sort of get swapped between one Earth in another universe with the other person that's exactly like you, and the people are slightly different to what you remember, you know. So you can't discount it completely, the Mandela effect, in that sense as well. But yeah, whether you can influence and change things, I don't think so. But there may be explanations for why memories or things change. So I wouldn't discount it completely scientifically anyway. Hey, where's Robert gone? Cool early night, Paul. Yep, I might just do that. Looks like Robert's gone. And we have to get you on to tell your stories as well, Charles. So we'll do that in future. So I'll just kick that down. I'll just restart it just in case it's something to do with my end, which I don't think so. You're the only one. So he's not there. Maybe I had a premonition that his internet was going to go down today, even though he hadn't been on today. So maybe I'm a seer as well. I'm a Kevin Day. Yeah, it's pretty early for Americans here, but I think we might need to kill it there and do the other topics another day. I suppose we could listen for a couple more minutes of this, because if she's going to complain about fair use and all that, but we have talked throughout it, so we'll just see what he's got anything else to say, and then we'll wrap
many
up.
Of us, Kevin, these experiences, and they happen in so many ways, are helping to take what we have innately out of dormancy. They've been atrophied, and some agent comes in and awakens it. That's what it seems like. Don't worry about being looked at as a messenger. Those are just words. They're just words. We're all messengers for something, right?
That's a good.
We're all messengers. You are indeed a messenger, and I love what you're doing.
See, she's putting.
I think you're an amazing.
She's not being a real interviewer here. She's influencing him. She's doing leading questions, as they call it, right? Yeah, he's not on Facebook, so I think he's lost internet completely, guys.
Amazing human being. And you're here for a reason.
I hear that. It is. I don't know. I feel like I'm just a normal person, humble, you know?
Well, you can be both. You're normal, you're humble.
Yeah, she's not a really good interviewer, I'm afraid. She's leading them instead of just letting him explain it all. So he's saying he's just a normal person. He's not saying he's able to conjure up stuff, but other people tell him he can. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever, this. Anyway, I think we'll just kill it in the butt there. You got the link to it if you want to go and re-watch it all. But yeah, I think we'll wrap up for the day. It is 2.5 hours, so it's not too bad for a live stream. No fair, Dr. Greer is here. I'll just get up my control panel anyway. And I'll say goodnight and leave it there. Hopefully next week works a wee bit better, and we'll do possibly a midweek as well, debunk session. Hopefully you can join us if you're not too busy working. If not, you can watch it offline. So yeah, good night everybody, and see if this kicks in. I think we did a fairly good discussion there about various bad aspects in ufology again. Good night. Thanks for your donations, guys, and commenting, of course. And we always listen to your ideas as well. And hopefully we can get to the truth of all of it. Maybe we'll never understand it. Maybe it's beyond our scope. It's only a crazy world we live in today. Crazy stuff happening. And as always, we seem to have always these problems with things going wrong with our shows, which is really strange too. Okay.